All right. Hey, Mindy.
Hey, Marjorie, how are you?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing great, thank you.
I've been excited about this conversation. I've been thinking about this even before we said, let's do it. And once we decided to do it, we were like, okay, 24 hours later.
Yes. And that's, you know what? Leaders make decisions fast and they change their mind slowly.
That is so true. Good
Mhm.
for us. Look at
Yes.
us. Well, there's a few reasons why I'm excited about this conversation. Because, I've been telling you in the last conversation that you and I had that you are truly the epitome of what I've been calling this wild woman leadership archetype. Just in the over the past 10 years since we've known each other, because I think we met, you said 2013. So we've known each other for over 10 years. We were both in a little sleepy beach town trying
Mhm.
to build our lives. And I've seen the metamorphosis that you've gone through.
Mhm.
Like, you're now in another country and
Yes.
I'm still in the same state, just another city, but I'm watching from afar at everything that you're doing. You've created such a great community of women over 50, and you're
Hmm.
really helping them step into their boldness. And that's one of the characteristics of the wild woman leadership archetype. She's bold, she's courageous, and you're doing this while helping women manifest it, right? And so you're embodying all of that and just helping women step into their wellness. So I really want to talk about how the heck you got here. I'm loving what I'm seeing. And so I want to talk about that. And let's just start, with sharing a little bit about your personal journey because there's a woman out there who is in exactly the same spot that you once were. And so your story can be, like a guiding light for them.
Well, and I think this is where all women, we all have something that we can share that is going to help lift other women up from wherever they are right now. So it's so important that we do share these stories. And yes, watching your growth as well has just been such a pleasure because there again, we were in this little sleepy beach town. But the one thing I want to say about that is that little beach town, we were both dreaming bigger.
Mhm.
We loved where we were. It was a great life. We lived at the beach. But at the same time, we both had bigger dreams, financial dreams, dreams of more freedom, dreams of doing something that we loved. And at that time, both of us felt very stuck in our lives. So my journey started a long time ago, obviously, when I started out as a pregnant mom, a pregnant teenager. I was only 17 when I got pregnant for my son, and my life did not look like it was going to go the direction it went in. I
Mm.
worked my way through college as a young single mom. Then I ended up moving to Florida. I became a realist, well, first to a ski resort where I worked at a restaurant with my college degree, but then Florida, where for the next 25 years I spent in a real estate career that I would have never have dreamed would turn out to be as lucrative and as amazing as it was. But the problem was I got burned out. About 10 years in, I got burned out in the real estate business and I could see no light at the end of the tunnel at that point. And so
Mm.
that's when you and I met in
Yeah, that's
2013.
right. That's right.
And so I tell everyone I overstayed in that career an additional 10 years because I was really burnt out 10 years earlier than when I actually retired from it because I couldn't see a way out. Here I was 56 years old, not in 2013, but when the new career came to me, when my life changed drastically through the mindset work I'd been doing. But I was 56 years old and still the last 10 years I'd given to this career that I didn't love anymore. I was tired of the masculine energy behind negotiating contracts, constantly in what we were told in that time in the world that, you got to be in this hustle, work, 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 go, go, go. And it was such a fallacy. And I knew there had to be something better out there. So I, by chance, the universe brought to me a program around mindset, manifestation, law of attraction. I started doing that work and I started to understand more and more that, wait a minute, I don't have to hustle to get to where I want to go. I need to learn to check in with my intuition. What is my heart calling me to do? Now,
Mhm.
I'd known for a long time that I didn't want to live in the real estate world anymore. That was my discontent. My longing was to travel, to have financial and time freedom, to be able to help women in mass, not just a woman here and a woman there, but I wanted to help a lot of women change and transform their lives so that they could understand that freedom too. So it started out as a vision. I started studying this work in September of 2021. I heard in a really deep meditation, you're supposed to be a life coach. It was nowhere on my trajectory. Like that was not something I wanted to do at the age of 56, start a new career, learn something new. But I knew that when I heard that voice, my coming from my intuition, coming from my soul, there was something there and I had to listen. So I listened 3 months later. I'm on a vacation in Costa Rica. I was going to be here for 3 months. 3 weeks after the plane landed, manifested the house that I now currently live in, the opportunity to purchase this house. And for everyone who's out there thinking, well, that sounds like a dream life, I didn't have the money to do it. I didn't have the bank account to even put the down payment on the house at this point. I had been burned out in my career. I was really working enough to just keep food on the table and pay the house payment, but I wasn't working at my career full time at that time. But when you follow your heart, the universe aligns, the opportunities show up, the money shows up. And I'm not saying a large chunk of money showed up, but the opportunity to be able to buy this house in such a way that I didn't need that large chunk. And then once as I kept saying yes, the universe kept providing. And then the money came. And then the
Yeah.
career started to take off. And before you know it, I'm living this life in Costa Rica and I have a thriving coaching business.
That I love that story. And and I can vouch for all of this because like I said, I've watched this metamorphosis happen. And I remember when you and I first met, remember the circumstances under which we met.
Oh, yes.
You were volunteering and I was giving a presentation for single moms who had gone through abuse, and this was a program to sort of help empower them, and you were
Mhm.
volunteering your time there. And even though I was a presenter there, I too was one of those women. And then we started to connect. But everything that you and I have experienced together over those years, it has been a personal development journey, all of it. And I think
Mm.
the key things that you're talking about in what you did was that you did the work, you were willing to do the work, and you listened.
Yes.
And that's an important thing, to be able to listen. I talk a lot about that particularly for women in leadership roles, right? You
Mhm.
knew that you wanted to help other women and encourage them and empower them. And so, but you had to be able to listen to see what was coming up to show you the way to go. And so you were willing to do that work. So, as you've been working with women who seem to be stuck, we've all been there, can't seem to get
Yes.
out of those patterns that keep us there. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing there for women?
You know, a lot of it starts with belief. They don't believe, just like I didn't believe, that they have options. So it starts with belief. It starts with a desire for something new. Like we have to look at first, what are our discontents in life? For
Mhm.
some, that's their health. Maybe menopause brought on some bad health,
Mhm.
or possibly just they've been living well, and we need to think of health. I'm going to back up for just a minute. We need to think of health as not just our physical health, but our emotional, our mental, and our spiritual health are all included in this. It's a ball of wax that includes all of it, right? So when we untangle the health issues, when you and I met, I was in amazing physical health, but my mental health was suffering. And oftentimes, when our mental health is suffering, we're suffering in the quiet by ourselves. So we look at our health, we look at what are our finances like? Are we living paycheck to paycheck? Are we surviving? What is our happiness level like? Are we truly happy? Are we excited to get up every morning? Or are you hitting the sleep alarm like 10 times, dreading getting out of bed, dreading getting into traffic, dreading all the stuff that's to follow, right? The day at work with the boss that you don't like, doing a job that you don't like. I didn't have a boss in my real estate career, but I still dreaded it because I was so burnt out in that career. So we look at those things, our relationships. What are our relationships like? Like, do we have great relationships with everyone in our life, including if we have a partner, our partner? Or are we there again, just surviving in our relationships? And we look at our time and money freedom. Do we have the time to do the things that we want to do? In other words, if you want to take a month-long vacation, can you do that? Can you work while you're away? Can you do the things you want to do? Can you take your family, your children, your friends on the trips that you'd like to take them on? And do you have the money to do it without having to sacrifice in other areas of your life? So I
Mhm.
help women with all that. We look at their discontents, but we also look at their longings because their longing is what their soul is calling them to do.
Mhm.
See,
Mhm.
my longing was travel and helping women. The travel was the time freedom side.
Yeah.
So in the real estate career, I didn't have as much of that as I do now in a career where I just take my laptop anywhere in the world and I can work.
I love it. I love it. So there's a couple of things. There's so many different nuggets, but I'm going to go back to, the health and talking holistically about all of those
Hmm.
areas of health. And I think particularly for women over 40 and 50. And I was just talking about this. I'm noticing that women, especially who are in leadership roles, who are, running companies and building companies, a lot more women now are finding that, they're going into entrepreneurship. But there's usually a price we end up paying, right?
Yes.
There's a price that we pay because we feel, just like you were saying in the real estate industry, even though it's interesting, real estate has always been predominantly women, you still go in with that masculine energy, thinking you've got to
Hmm.
carry that with you. Isn't it amazing how we take that on in all aspects? And what does it do to us? It drains us, it burns us out,
Hmm.
because we're not meant to operate and navigate like that. And many of us, we want some of the same things. We want fulfilling lives, just like you said, you wanted to travel.
Hmm.
So, what is, so speaking to those women over 40 and 50,
Hmm.
right? Like, what does creating a fulfilling life really mean to you? And how do you guide people in defining that for themselves, especially in that age bracket?
So for me, a fulfilling life is having the freedom. It's not just the freedom in your schedule, but the freedom in your thoughts, your thought processes. Like you're not waking up in the middle of the night, like, how am I going to pay that bill? How am I going to do this thing? Oh my goodness, that person lied to me or cheated on me or whatever it is. It's a thought process of a CEO. It's a woman who knows what she wants and she knows where she's going, and nothing's going to rock that boat, right? So, like, she just has a freedom in the way that she moves, in the way that she talks, in the way that she speaks, in the way that she shows up in the world. And then if you can create that time freedom in your life, then that's the icing on the cake, obviously. So I guide people first in helping them to see maybe what they can't see. I help them to discover what are those longings and discontents, because as women, many of us have grown up in this idea that we have to serve everyone else, and we are afraid to even look at our own wants. So I
Yeah.
just coached a woman last night on this, and part of part of that coaching with her was helping her to see that she wasn't allowing herself to have happiness. She wasn't comfortable moving into this business that she's creating where she knows she's going to make some really big money, because when she was a little girl, she was told that she wasn't smart enough to do that.
Mm,
And not in a mean way. It
mhm,
was more
mhm.
coming from her mom, who was trying to protect her, like, you're really not smart enough to do that thing. And so many of us, we've taken these conversations in, or these words that our parents have said to us, and deep in our subconscious mind, there's a belief that, yeah, that person can do it, but not me.
Isn't that something? Yeah, this is
Mhm.
something that I've been talking about. There is a lot of fear, and I want to talk about fear in a little bit, but I also want to talk about the fear we have around our own power. I was explaining in my last mini masterclass that we are women, we are so powerful in so many different ways. We don't allow ourselves to fully tap into that. And I believe that there is some fear around that, right? It's a fear
Mhm.
of being seen. It's a fear of being judged, right? That's why we're not as bold and putting ourselves out there. There's a lot of different fears, but some of us have it from just as a young child, just the messaging that we received from our parents. And it wasn't, like you said, nothing that it was just what they knew, right? It's
Yeah.
coming from their place of fear and what they knew. And so, our parents they do the best that they can, but what they knew. But
Mhm.
we're carrying some of those beliefs. And I think, we have to be able to examine those over time. So tell me, what have you seen around some of the biggest fears that women have had as you've been, coaching them?
The biggest fear is of success. Isn't that it seems so ironic. It's what we all want. And yet, deep down in the subconscious mind, it's the thing that we fear.
Yeah.
And this is where an understanding of the subconscious mind is so important. And most of us, there again, when we come from that era of hustle culture, and, I used to go to all of the big names, walking on the hot coal, breaking an arrow on my neck or on my esophagus, breaking all the boards. I've done all the stuff. But the thing is, I'd go home and 2 weeks later, I would just be me again. All the same things that I'd ever dealt with would just come up. And I'm like, why can't I pick up the phone and make the call? Why can't I reach out to this
Mhm.
person? What's holding me back? So when we really dig deeper into that, again, that little girl inside of us, stay quiet, children are seen and not heard, be a good little girl, like all this stuff that we were told, because that was just the day and age. It's buried deep in our subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
Be
Mm-hmm.
seen and not heard. Or be,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yes, that's
like
right.
you can quietly walk into a room, but don't use your voice. Don't be
Yes,
loud.
yes,
And
yes,
so as women, again, if whatever archetype we're taking on, like
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
taking on that CEO archetype.
yeah, 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 yeah.
When my voice gets heard, I want it to be powerful. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how we start to reprogram that subconscious mind. We have to
Yes,
step into that new identity.
that's it. That's it right
Mhm.
there. That has been, one of the biggest things for me because I know the mask that I've been wearing, and a lot of it, has to do with visibility and my voice, which
Mhm.
ironically, I've done public speaking And people, they say, you're really great at public speaking. Um, but it was more than that. It was how I was really using my voice and really speaking my truth.
Hmm.
And it took me to this point in my life, right, my mid 50s, to finally say, "Pick it." I'm not going to hold back anymore, right?
Yes.
It's either now or it's never. And
Mm.
what does my life mean if I can't just speak my truth and be who I am and show up how I am? And so that's what my life is worth to me, that I want to be able to do that. And I know that you have been doing that too. You've reached a point where you have been really bold and courageous in saying, this is who I am. These are my boundaries. This is who I'll work with. This is who I won't work with. This is how I do it. This is how I don't do it. Tell us about that experience and how you came to that, to really own it and then verbalize it.
I was going through some stuff and okay, I'll cut this part out.
Okay.
Should I talk about November 6th?
If you want to, yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. So let's take a little pause.
Mhm.
So on November 6th, I was going through some emotional stuff when the results came out. I was really disappointed in humanity that we would have voted for someone who is against everything that I stand for, which is human rights, against the LGBTQ community, against women's rights, against just immigrants. I live
Mhm.
in Latin America, and against anybody who's not obviously white, old, and male. And so
Mhm.
I had a real problem with humanity in that moment because I do know my moral values. I have sat down and looked at my line in the sand in many areas, and anything that crosses that line is not
Mhm.
something that I stand for. And I know that.
Mhm.
And I know at my age, I know that when I choose powerfully who I work with, that I will attract my tribe. You see, this spiritual bypassing that I see all over YouTube where, da, 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 and both sides. No, there is no both.
Yeah.
There is no both
Mhm.
sides in some
Mhm.
matters.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean people on the other side are bad. It just means we have different moral values. Maybe you value money over human
Mhm.
life. That's not who I am.
Mhm. Mhm.
Maybe you value these policies because it benefits you in some way.
Mhm.
And the best way I can say this is I do believe people on one side of the aisle value human life.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
value humanity. They
Mhm.
value saving Mother Earth, all the
Mhm.
stuff more
Mhm.
than maybe the other side, right? And
Mhm.
that's okay. We all are where we're at. So there's no making those people wrong, but I get to powerfully choose who I allow in my circle. And I do that because I think of life as a huge banquet room. And I'm at this amazing event. It's my event, right? This is my life. It's my
That's
event.
true. That's
I
true.
get to choose who sits at my table.
Yes.
Now, they can come in the banquet room, they can sit in the back, but they can't come to my table.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. You get to decide who sits at your table.
it's my decision. It's my life. And if your energy doesn't match my energy, then
Yeah.
I don't have to allow you at my
Yeah.
table. It's that
Listen, there's
simple.
there's lessons in that right there. This is what I've been trying to say about the energy. You do not have to take on and match other people's energy that has nothing to do with yours. You
Mhm.
first have to understand your own energy, right? You have to know that. And I think that that has a lot to do with, and you said that, the value system. This is a big thing. This is the future of leadership, in that
Mhm.
leaders have to be led by their values. And your values tells you everything you need to know about
Mhm.
the person. And so if that person's behaviors and their values, if you see that if that doesn't align up with you, then you know that's someone that you don't need to follow. You don't need to be around, right? And so you're right about that. It helps you to attract your tribe, your people, right? That need to see you, and you're moving by that. So I really applaud that. And I think that that's a core thing in leadership, because like I was saying, we all know we have values, but how
Mhm.
many of us can really name them and say that we are letting those values guide our lives, that we have a set of principles that are guiding our lives. And I think the biggest thing about this, Mindy, that you were saying is this whole idea about humanity and the collective, that as a leader, that is a responsibility. Like it's not
Yes.
about an
Mhm.
individual, it's about the collective.
Exactly. And when we live by those values, when we draw that line in the sand, we have more freedom. We have more voice, because the one thing that I realized, and it was actually my coach. So yes, coaches have coaches. And it was my coach who's up in Canada. So not part of this whole thing, right?
Mhm.
And I asked my coach and he said, Mindy, use your voice for what you believe in. And as soon as he said that, it gave me the freedom to use my voice. And what I had realized in that moment is all those years in real estate, why I was so miserable is I was busier chasing this sale. And literally, I'd put people in my car that even back then, before the Great Divide happened, there were people I'd put in my car and I'm like, man, I wish I could push them out of the car going 50 something miles an hour, right? But I was trying to please everyone. And what's changed, and there again, I think this is something that, especially as we start to age, we step into that power more, is now I only work with people who I align with,
Mhm. Mhm.
which then there is no friction. There's
That's
no
right.
friction. There's no holding back who I am. I don't have to watch what I say when I'm on a coaching call. I don't
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
walk on eggshells, not offend anybody. No, if you're offended by me, okay.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
That's
That's right.
okay.
You can be your full authentic self. You can
Yes.
embody the person that you are. You can
Hmm.
be that person, and that is the biggest thing right there, is the embodiment of what it
Yes.
means to be leading a community, especially when you're talking about manifestation, right?
Yes.
Because you can't manifest unless you embody what it is you want to manifest.
Exactly. And true freedom is being able to speak that out loud,
Yeah.
speak it with clarity, say,
Yeah.
I'm not okay with those beliefs that you have. I'm not making you a bad person. I'm just
Yeah.
not okay with that. And you're not invited to my table.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it. So that's amazing. So let me ask you about your next retreat. So you've already done one retreat. I think it's about a year ago you did your first retreat in Costa
No,
Rica.
I've done a couple.
Oh, you've done a couple. See, oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm so behind time. And now you're getting ready to do another one, and you're doing it with your girls too, which is really exciting.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
tell us
this one's
about
a
that.
dream come true.
Uh-huh.
I've wanted my girls to come to work with me for a while. They're 26, they're twins, and they're just, amazing young ladies.
Oh.
But again, I raised them while I was still in that hustle culture. So I taught them that you have to work hard and you have to go to school and you have to do all the stuff. I
Mhm.
found this work after they were out of college. And now I'm trying to help them understand that, that what I believed back then, maybe it was true then,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, we all get to create a life that we love. So we are creating a retreat for, of course, they're young ladies. So it's really going to be mainly young ladies up to probably 35, 40 age, and below. The girls are 26, like I said, and they have friends in all age ranges. And it'll be here in Costa Rica. We're still looking at retreat centers. It's going to be in September. But my retreats, what we do is we do some adventure because, I mean, it's Costa Rica. So we do some adventure. The last retreat, we went down in inner tubes, down a blue river off of a volcano. It was just an amazing day. But
Oh,
for some women, this is really stepping out of their comfort zone. And so there
yeah.
are big breakthroughs happening on that
Hmm.
trip. You know,
Hmm.
if
Yeah,
you've come from the city and you've never been in the jungles of Costa Rica, that's a big breakthrough.
that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so some are the hikes that we go on. Another adventure that we do, we go across the hanging bridges across the rainforest.
Oh, wow.
We
Okay.
go to the hot springs. So we have like spa days, where you can get massages, do the hot springs, and then we do healing work, sound healing, breath work, different
Hmm.
modalities like that. A
Hmm.
little bit of yoga in the morning. It's just stretching, not to intimidate anyone, but just
Hmm.
enough to really wake ourselves up, presence ourselves. And then, of course, the mindset work. So this is an immersive experience where you come in and all of this is in this closed container of women
Hmm.
who are supporting one another, doing the mindset work. In 5 to 6 days, we can do the
Yeah.
mindset work that could take some weeks, months, or years
Wow.
to complete.
That's
And they
amazing.
go home with lasting change, but they also go home with a community
Hmm.
who they're remaining friends like
That's right. Yeah.
years
Yeah.
later. So,
I've met those women because I've been a part of your Dream Builders
mhm.
community where a lot of the participants in that they've gone to your retreats and they continue to be a part of those weekly calls. They're part of your Facebook group as
Mhm.
well, and now you have a school community. So, Tom, so tell everybody a little bit about the difference between all three of those different groups or
Okay.
programs.
So the retreats, obviously that's an immersive experience. You fly here to Costa Rica, and I'm going to actually expand that out, maybe look into Italy, Portugal, different places like that. But for right now, it's Costa Rica. And again, immersive. I told you, the things that we do, it really creates that bonding in person. And I believe that people are craving more in person these days. I
Yeah.
also offer customized retreats. I did my first customized retreat just for a single woman who flew down here. I just did that a couple months ago, and she went away with literally 2 months worth of training with two
Mhm.
days here.
Wow, amazing.
So yeah, so her breakthroughs were huge. And I customize those retreats. It can be a small group,
Hmm.
if you have 4 or 5 people on your team, 2 people on your team, or it can be a 1 day, one person
Hmm.
event, up to 5 days there again.
Okay.
Then we have our program. So the Dream Builder program is just one. I did not write this program. I'm a certified coach for Brave Thinking Institute to coach the Dream Builder program, which is a 12-week program. We do weekly coaching. We have a morning, what I call a mentorship call, which helps to create a new habit of every morning you do a little personal development, half an hour of personal development. Then we get on, we share what we're grateful for, we share maybe some breakthroughs that we're having, whatever it is. And this is where community gets
Yeah,
created.
that's right.
Those daily calls, and they're optional, you don't have to jump on. I also have my school community, as you mentioned. My school community is a free community for someone who maybe has never coached before, but they're ready to check out, what is this all about? It's called the
Mhm.
House of Bold Manifestation. And in that community, there's a 14-day free manifestation challenge. Now, I just started this community a couple of months ago, so it's still a rather small community, but it's just a great place where you can converse, you can see what other people are up to, you can do the 14-day challenge. I do have bi-weekly coaching in that group as well. So you can get a coaching call every week that I'm hosting or one of my team members for absolutely free. So there again,
Awesome.
kind of dip your toe in the
Amazing.
water kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But in that community, I have my Ignite community, and I'm beta launching a program in there. And because it's in my Ignite community, it's only going to be right now $29.99 a month, $29.99 a month US. for anyone who joins. And whoever joins early on, that price will be forever. That price will go up at the end of this month.
Mm,
And I'm so excited about the new program that I'm launching. It's Magnetic Mindset. And it's really taking on that magnetic that mindset that when you walk into the room, again, you have that energy,
mm,
whatever it is that you are looking to embody. So if
yeah.
it's that CEO energy, you walk in with that. If it's the energy of, a bold goddess, you walk in with that. Whatever your energy is, we're learning how to embody that. Because when you embody that, when you become that now, that's when the law of attraction kicks in. That's when you attract the opportunities, the people, the experiences, the money, you name it.
Right,
So
that's right.
you
That's
can
right.
tell I
Oh,
get really
beautiful.
excited when I talk
I
about
know,
this.
I know. It's all so beautiful. Now you also have a Facebook group, but you also have a YouTube channel.
Yes,
Mhm,
Reinventing Over 50 is my
mhm,
YouTube channel.
mhm, mhm.
And again, it's fairly new and I'm not the greatest on YouTube yet, but I'm getting better at it. It's
Listen,
all a work in progress.
it's trial and error.
Yes, exactly. But this is the thing. A bold woman steps into it. She
That's
steps
right.
into it before
That's right.
she's ready. She
That's right.
does the thing before she has
Mhm,
all the knowledge on how to do the thing. Because again, when you want to activate the law of attraction, you have to show the universe that you mean business.
mhm. That's it. That's it. And that, my friends, is what I've been talking about so much when I'm trying to explain to people what this wild woman leadership archetype looks like. This is it. This is the wildness. This is leading from a place of inner knowing, from boldness and courageousness and embodying all
Mhm.
of that. And Mindy has definitely been doing that. So I've been so inspired by everything that you have been doing and, excited to continue, to walk alongside you in this journey and support how I can. And thank you so much for opening up and sharing, this conversation today. I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Well, thank you so much. This was so much fun, and I really appreciate all of your listeners. You know, and you, Marjorie, just stepping into who you have become. I've
Yeah.
watched your journey over the years, and you are such an inspiration
Thank
that
you.
I know the lives that will transform just from you stepping into your greatness. It's
Mhm.
going to be mind blowing.
Amazing. Thank you for that. All right. Bye.
Bye. So stop the recording.